This is Gemara in Shekalim Daf Ches, as we're here, the final home stretch of Masechtas Shekalim, or the learning for this month of Nisan, as we wind down Nisan as well. It's been sponsored by the Grun family, Lili Nishmas, Chaim Mordechai ben Naftali Tzvi. The learning of the entire Chabura should be a tremendous chos Lili Nishmasam. As well as today on Chavav Nisan. Today's shir is sponsored by a close friend of the Daf, Rav Daniel Stam, who I believe has been with us all the way from the beginning. Lili Nishmas Chana Bas Avraham, the learning of the entire Chabura, which we've just got in the numbers, which Baruch Hashem, even through these difficult Daf of Shekalim, still we're within the few hundred people learning together. Should be a tremendous chos ilin nishmasa. And of course, our chaylim and ben chaya shal ben sar shal ben chaya chay ben sar some sim reiz sar bas kinandi bazin chay sar yisel mendel elias a perz shal shal mas david shal fig shal khad al davini tri shal ben tilach dim khan reiz mal chay basin li brachos to musa dinir mashin mendel sim khotov ben avigav faj sim fig ben khol shon nasel hu men achmend ben tayba bsar shkhli so as khashedach fatliya basita am and achmendel ben eli sheva. We pick it up in the very bottom of Yud Zayin Amud Beis. And we just have to review one dot from yesterday's Gemara, because this is really a machlekes which is going to flow into today's Gemara. And as well, Baruch Hashem, we have some beautiful pictures to share with everyone today. So yesterday we learned that Asara Shulchanais Asa Shloimei, that there were 10 Shulchanais, and we mentioned at the time that we all know about the 10 menorahs that Shlomo made, but this is the 10 shulchanos that Shlomo made, and we're going to learn a little bit about the menorahs soon. So this is about, 15 lines from the bottom of Zayin Amud Beis, and we had a machlokes whether they would only use Moshe Rabbeinu's or they used all of them. So we learned yesterday that Aval Bikin Leia Misader El B'Shal Moshe, that Tanna Kamma held that even though they made 10 shulchanos, still the Lechem Aponim was only put on Moshe Rabbeinu's. And then we quoted Rav Yossi bar Rav Yehuda, who disagreed, and he said that they are put on all of them, and he brought a raya from the pasuk. So Tani, now we continue this theme, learning about these 10 shulchanos. Where were the shulchanos? And as once we get into Talmud Aleph, we'll show a beautiful picture. Tani says the Gemara, Mizrach u'Mayrav hayanisunim. They were placed from Mizrach east to west. Divrei Rabbi, Rav Lazar Rav Shimon Aimer no with Safa V'Darim hayanisunim. Says the Gemara, Man Damar Mizrach u'Mayriv. According to the first Man Damar that they were placed east to west, Nicha. It's very good because Kulim Riyan Lisharis. Because then all of them are in a location which they are kosher. Whereas Manda Amar Safed Vidarim Nimsa, Safed Vidarim, they were north all the way down to south along the length. Nimsa Shulcha Vidarim, it comes out that the Shulchan is in the south, and as we move along to Gilchasam and Aleph, says the Gemara, U'Menorah B'Tzafain, and the Menorah is in the north, and that can't be. And actually, these three words, Menorah B'Tzafain Vaha, we take them out, says the Gain, and rather, says the Gemara, Taniya Shulchan Hayanasan Mechatzi Abayis Lifnim. So according to the Man Amar that it's north and south, we run into an issue because the Shulchan is only kosher if it's in the north. On that, the Gemara answers, Tani HaShulchan Hayanasan Mechatzi Abayis Vilifnim Moshuch Min HaKoisel Beis Amos. That it's going to be, I should say a little more precisely. This is really not an answer. The Gemara is just saying it comes out good according to that Man Amar. Now the Gemara continues and explains that where were the Shulchans placed? They were placed on the inner half, Mechatzi Abayis Vilifnim Moshuch Min HaKoisel, a little bit off of the wall of a Chetzi Amma, Shtei Amos Umechs, 2.5 Amos, Klape Atzafa, towards the north. U'Menorah was Kinegdai B'Darim, and the Neira was opposite in the south. Mizbeach Hazav, and the golden Mizbeach Hayanasan Be'emsa was in the middle. So again, first we learned where were these 10 shulchanos placed. Were they placed right to left? We'll call it up and down. And the Gemara brings a right to left theory. Now, we're not going to go into this right now, but the Mefarshim here get very busy dealing with, if anyone tries to do the math, you're going to run into an issue, because according to the first Man Amar, the shulchanos are going to fill up the entire width of the Mishkan, or the Beis Hamikdash, more precisely, so much Shlomo HaMelech, and the question is going to be, how do they fit? But okay, we're going to leave that for now. Now we have the second Brisa teaches where was the Shulchan, not necessarily all 10, but where was at least one. So basically it was opposite the Menorah, with the Mizbeach Hazav in the middle. Mizbeach Hazav again, Hayinasa Be'emsa Abayis, Choluk Es Abayis Mechatzi, which split the Beis Hamikdash in half, Lifnim, Mashoch Vilifnim was, Cholik Zabayis Mechatz Vilifnim, Mashoch Kimba Klap Eitzafon, who is drawn a little bit towards the north, Chutz, that word, the word safa they take out, the word chutz, it seems we're going to leave over here. So again, it's a bit outward. And it's all in the third inward. So now let's get some pictures to make this a little bit clearer. So first of all, here is a absolutely beautiful rendition. There's actually see so much going on in this picture. Here you have the 10 shulchanos on the right, the 10 menorahs on the left, which we're about to learn about in the Gemara, and at the very top, you see the one shulchan of Moshe and the one menorah of Moshe, which is what we just discussed, and at the very bottom of this picture, you see the Mizbeach Hazav smack in the middle. Now, when we continue, in this picture over here, this is just zooming in a little bit on just the one shulchan, one menorah, one Mizbeach Hazav. This was actually when the Kohen Gadol, as you see over here, is about to bow. You also see beautifully depicted how the smoke is going straight up on the Mizbeach Hazav, something that we learned about. But the point of the story is now you get the picture of where were all the Kalim, and over here, a little bit more of an aerial view, you see as well, like we just discussed, this is the Heichel, and you see the Shulchan on the right, the Menorah opposite, and the Mizbeach HaKatayras, what you see over there, it's smack in the middle, a little bit drawn upwards in the upper third of the Heichel, and that is, we'll just actually open this picture up, which the Gemara is going to talk about in a moment. And you see very similar what we just saw. Here you see the numbers. This is, I believe, the art school picture does a nice job at teaching us the numbers, that the Heichel was 60 amos. So you see that the Mizbeach Hazav is in the top, the Shulchan and the Menorah are all going to be within the top portion of that. With that, now let's go back into Gemara, and now let's learn about the Menorah. That was all about the Shulchan. Says the Gemara, Eser Menorahs Hasa Shleimai. Shleimai Melech made 10 Menorahs. Shenemar, this should sound very familiar. This is going to be the exact same machlekes about the Shulchanis. V'yasas Menorahs Hazav, Eser Kimishbatei. V'iten Behechel, Hey Miyamin, V'hei B'smol. 5 on the right, and 5 on the left. Ain't Tamar Chamish B'Sav and Chamish B'Darain. Don't say they're 5 in north and 5 south. Allah in Menorah Ksheira El B'Darain, because it has to be in the south. So therefore, the Menorah cannot be that way. Shnamar B'Sav Menorah Nachach Shulchan has to be up to the Shulchan Al Yerech Hamishkan Teimana. Mata Amaleimer Chamish Yamin Chamish Mismol. Ella Chamish Min Menorahs Shal Moshe. What's right and left? Right and left has to be right of something. Says the Gemara, like we learned yesterday, the right of the Menorah of Moshe v'Chamish Mismailah, and the left of the Menorah of Moshe. And yet the Tanakama explains, just like by the Shulchan, they only used to light the Menorah of Moshe Rabbeinu. Shneimar Menorah Hazav Menorah Seha Levayer Be'erev Levayer Ba'erev. Levayer Ba'erev. That's the end of the pasuk, meaning each and every evening. And this is referring to, because the pasuk is written in the singular, shows that, says the Tanakama, that they only used to light the Menorah of Moshe Rabbeinu. Rav Yesi bar Rav Yehuda Imer, as he disagreed by the Shulchan, he disagrees by the Menorah. Al Kulanayim Avir Shneimers Menorahs and Menorah say Heim Leva'aram Kimishpat Lefnei Davir Sagur, and this is where he learns that he light all 10 of them. Let's just go back to this first picture for one moment. Just again to appreciate what we just saw, that's the Yamimin and the Mismol of Moshe Rabbeinu's Menorah, as you see here up at the top. That's the right and the left, similar to the Shulchan. Now, back into our Gemara. Now we go and we continue the psukim about the Menorah. Says the Gemara, Va'perach va'neiros, and the flowers and the lambs, va'malkochayim, and the things you remove the wicks, the ktangs, the zav or gold. Humikalus zav hein. They used up all the gold of them, referring to Shlomo HaMelech. Now, that's one of the gears over here. Now, but it's one, actually a little bit of a zav, I'm sorry. Hein kilu zav shel Moshe. Now this word Moshe, that's what I was about to point out. We changed to Shlomo. So they finished up the gold of Shlomo HaMelech, which of course we know is very difficult because Shlomo HaMelech's wealth was absolutely fabulous. So the Mefarshim explained the specific type of very, very pure gold that was used 100% for the Menorah. And we'll learn more about that gold right now. Today, Rav Yehuda b'Shem Rav Asi. He took 1,000 germ of gold. And he put them into the crucible. And he put it in and out, purifying it more and more and more, until the 1,000 was purified to one kur. One kur. A pure kikar it was made. That is one brisa. Says the Gemara, another brisa, which is a bit of a stira, a contradiction. Tani into the brisa, Rav Yisi bar Rav Yehuda Ma'isa b'Meneir Zav Shasa Moshe. The Meneir that Moshe Rabbeinu made by Midbar in the desert. Vayisi Yisera dinar zav v'chnisu likur shmoinim pam. It was an extra dinar larger, and they put it into the crucible again. 80 times. It didn't lose anything. So you just told me that each time they refined it more and more and more, it lost more gold. This pasuk seemingly says no. Says the Gemara of Yos, but the truth is, Adlo Yakum al Birei Havichaser Sagin. Until it was absolutely pure, it's true. It used to get diminished and diminished and diminished. Minda Kaim al Breri. From the moment that it was perfectly pure, Lo Chaser Klom, at that moment, it did not lose anything. So therefore, there's no real stira, and that is the wonderful gold that they used to make the menorah. We continue the fourth halacha, Yud Chesam and Aleph, finishing up the sixth parak, the final Mishnah in the sixth parak. Says the Mishnah, we learned about this prior. There were 13 shayfrais. Hayu b'mikdash and the base hamikdash v'kosav aleim, and it was written on them tiklin chadatin. One of them wrote tiklin chadatin, which of course is the reference. That's where the mefayrish on the side of our page that we keep on quoting the tiklin chadatin got the name from. That one of the shayfrais, one of the boxes that they used to hold the machzah shekel, was written on it tiklin chadatin. The new Shekalim, the Tiklan Atikin, the old Shekalim, Kanim, or the birds, the Goizle Oila, and the pigeons of the Oila, Eitzim, wood, Levina, the frankincense, Zav, Lekapyrus, the gold for the Kapyrus, Shish, that's 6, Shishal and Adava, and then we have another 6 for the Nidava. Now, that is only 12. So again, let's count again one more time. The Tiklan Chadatin, the new and old Shekalim, the Goizli Oila, the Eitzim, the Levina, and the Zav, the Kapyrus. I just don't know how to count. That's 7. 7 and the 6 for the Nadava, that is 13. Says the Gemara, Tiklan Chadatin Shabachol Shana, this we've learned already in the beginning of the Masechta. The new Shekalim each and every year, Shana V'Shana. Va'atikin, what were the old Shekalim? Mishlahevi Ishtaka, the one who did not manage to bring it in the right time last year. Shekel Shana Haba, they will put it in the new box for the next year. Kanin Hein, Kanim, says the Gemara, Kanin hein Tyrin, v'goizli oila hein b'nei yoina. The Kanim were the Tyrim, which are turtle doves, are the right name, and the goizli oila are b'nei yoina, young pigeons. Kulan oilis, the review that says those were all oilis. Chamayrim Kanim echad chatzes v'echad oila. Now that sheet of the Chachamim, everyone should keep in mind for tomorrow's daf, that we're learning that the Kanim, that the birds that are being brought over here, the birds, obviously, of a woman who's a zava or a woman who's a yoledes, those birds were, so according to the Chachamim, part oila, part chatos. Very important. Goizli oila kulan oilais, the pigeons, the goizli oila, those were all oilais. Says the Gemara. Ha'amar. Now we go into, that was the first part of the Mishnah of the different boxes. Now we go into the second part of the Mishnah, that do we use these items for? Because we said in the Mishnah, what were some of the boxes? There was wood, was one of the boxes, was eitzim, another box was levina, another one of the boxes were gold, zav. Says the Gemara. If someone says, Omer, Hareya lai eitzim, he says, I'm bringing wood to the Beis HaMikdash. Lo yivchos mishnei gzirim. He can't bring less than 2 wood pieces, 2 wood blocks. Levina, if someone says he's bringing fragrances, says lo yivchos mikaimitz, from 1 to 3 fingers, but 1 kaimitz. Zav, lo yivchos midinar zav. Shishal and Nadava. Nadava amai, I said, but what do they use in Nadava? It's the donation of the Beis HaMikdash. Like in Ba, they would buy with it. Says the Gemara, oilais, they buy the carbon oila, habasar l'shem va'ayris l'kayanim, that the basar of the carbon oila would go for Hashem, l'shem, va'ayris in the hides in the kayanim. Zeh midrash darsh of Yida, kayin gadol, Hashem Hashem, Hashem na Hashem, zeh klal, this is the rule. Kol shubah mishum chatos, umishum hashama, yilach bem oilais habasar, yilach bem oilais, you buy with them the carbon oila, habasar lasvida sol l'shem, is the granim. So when you have an oila, what happens to oila? God gets the beef. That's the oila fully burnt up sheit Hashem. But the hides, the oirais, don't forget that the kehanim gets nimsu shnei ksuvim. Kayamim. So from this we learn out two psukim. Pasuk number 1 is Asham Hashem, V'Asham LaKoyin, and those are two different psukim. V'Omer, and this is the pasuk Kesav Asham, the Kesav Chatos Lo Yavi Beis Hashem LeKahanim. You don't bring it to the Beis Hashem, rather to the Kahanim. That's splitting up the two parts of the carbon oil. Says the Gemara Tani Milan to the rice. There was not a box of the kinim of these for the birds in Yerushalayim. Why? Because of the tarayvis. What tarayvis? Maybe, God forbid, a woman's going to be bringing the money to buy the kinim. She's a zavar yilades. She's bringing money to buy these karbanos. She's going to die. What's the halach if she dies? What do we do with her karban? The money falls and we have to bring a chatos. But now we're going to have an issue. Because now if she already put the money into the box, that box is going to be a carbon oila and a carbon chatos all mixed together. And therefore, for that reason, says Rav Yehuda, we don't have a box at all for these kinim, for these birds. Rather, for that carbon, they had to bring on their own the birds. Asks the Gemara, going to the price, the 2 lines to the bottom. If a woman says, I'm going to bring a set of birds, she brings the value of the value of the birds, and she puts it into the box. And she's allowed to eat. We have this in Gemara Psachim, and she had to eat the kachim right away. And she doesn't have to be worried that maybe the kohen didn't bring her carbon. She gives the money, and she's allowed to eat. Why? We're not worried that maybe the money's mixed in, meaning we know that the kohen did his job, and therefore she's allowed to go and eat right away. So says the Gemara, you just told me you don't make this box at all. Why not? Because we're afraid that you're going to have leftover, and that maybe the woman's going to die. You're going to have to bring a carbon chatos, and you have chatos and oil all mixed together. But says the Gemara, I don't understand. You have a problem. We have a different price that says a woman can bring it, and she has no problem. Answers the Gemara, it's not a stira. When do we say the second brisa that if she brings it, it's when the baal actually dies? Vadai. That's when we say, when do we say, let's get this right, when we know the owner died, then there is a concern that we assume that the money's going to have to be a chatas and going to be all mixed together. Because of that concern, Rav Yehuda doesn't let you bring the money. But let's say a woman came and actually brought the birds, or actually gave the money to the kohen to buy the bird, then we're not concerned that the kohen's going to be lazy. So it's basically two stages that don't contradict each other. We don't collect the money in the communal box. Why not? Because we're afraid maybe she's going to die, and maybe that box is now going to have a suffix mixed together. Did one of the women who brought part of the shekel into this box, maybe she died. But if she actually brought it, then we assume the kohen did his job, and there is no stira. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Why don't we just say, no big deal if the woman dies, take out the few dollars that she put in there and throw it into the ocean, vidach lishteri, and the rest of it we'll know for sure is not a carbon chatas. The whole issue was that maybe the woman's going to die. If the woman dies, what happens? Her money goes for a chatos. Now you have chatos and oil mixed together. Explains the Gemara, what's the problem? Let there be chatos and oil mixed together. Take out a few coins, throw it to the ocean, and the rest of it is fine. Answers the Gemara, Amrina Ba'amar Rav Yehuda les lei breira. Famous sheet of Rav Yehuda that holds we don't say breira. We don't say breira. Therefore, that's the reason why we cannot fix the whole box, and that's why we don't set up this box in Yerushalayim. Says the Gemara 6 lines down, Yochesim Rebbeis. Rabbi Yoisa be Rabbun, Amar Ba Bar Marmul Ba'i. Different gearsayis over here, maybe take out the first few words. But the point of the story is, they asked the following question. Rabbi Bar Marmul Ba'i Amar Areya Lai Eitz. If you said, I'm going to bring wood to the Beis HaMikdash, maybe geezer. You bring, not a geezer, you mean, I think the explanation is a gezer, which is one block of wood, a gezer echad. Amar Rav Lezer, we'll have a nice picture in a moment. Amar Rav Lezer, Masnit Amar Kain, right from a Mishnah. Shezeh carbon of B'fnei Atzmai. Shezeh carbon of B'fnei Atzmai. That if when they bring the two blocks of wood, then they each bring a carbon on its own. So we see very clearly that the minimal you bring is one. Like we saw in the Mishnah, Taman, Shnayim biyadam, 2 kohanim come with 2 blocks of wood, Shnei gizrei eitzim, 2 blocks of carbon, and they bring them as a carbon l'rabois as a eitzim in order to increase the eitzim. This is talking about the things of Mishnah in No, I read that completely wrong. Let's go back. Apologies. Period. That two kayana bring two blocks of wood. What was this referring to? It's referring to before the carbon shalbina harbayim, they would come and they would add a little extra fuel to the fire before they brought that carbon. So what the point of the story is that each one was a separate offering, two different kayanim. So we see that the minimum is going to bring one block of wood per kayin. Says the Gemara now, carbon, the pasuk says, if someone wants to bring a carbon, the rabbi, he says eitzim, comes to include that someone could bring eitzim to the Beis HaMikdash. Now, what was the thickness of these blocks? Was an amma? What type of amma? An expanded amma. We know we have shrunken ammas and we have larger ammas. So the amma that they brought was the expanded amma. Va'arkan, and their length was amma geduma, was a shrunken amma. So one dimension, basically to make life a little bit simpler, was longer than the other dimension, even though it was an amma by an amma. But there's two different types of ammas. Says the Gemara, Rav B'Shem Rav Ami came in a tortini. That what was this? This was like a tortini. Tortini was a stick they used for a certain measuring item. That was the measurement of that which they did. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak Lefi Shloya Makam Hamarachal Amal Amma. The entire pyre, Pyre, the entire fire on top of the mizbeach was one amma by one amma. That's why the blocks they brought were one amma. Lefi Kach Leya Bayela Amma Geduma. That's the reason why they made sure to bring shorter amma so that it doesn't hang over into the outside area. What outside area? Of a tonic gate. Amma Yisoid. There was Amma of the Yisoid, the Amma Seiviv, Amma Karkoiv, Amma Karnis, Amma Maracha. So let's go backwards. The Maracha was the fire in the middle. The Karanais were the horns. What was the Karkoiv? That was the area that the Kohanim walked around. Let's show a few pictures and then we'll explain two very important points. So over here we have, we skipped it. Here we have, this is what we just saw, that's the Saiviv, that's the Karanais, and that's the Karkoiv. Now we see from the top, this is very important, courtesy of Art Skill, thank you, that this we see the B, that's the Karanais in the side, the A, that's the pyre, that's the fire, the one am by one am of fire, and the gray area, that is the area where the Kohanim used to walk around the fire. Now why is it important? Is because with this picture in front of you, this looks much bigger than this picture. This is very small. This is quite tremendous. The answer was, one was the Mizbeach in Moshe, one is the Mizbeach in the Beis HaMikdash. This is the Mizbeach in the Beis HaMikdash. The Mizbeach in the Beis HaMikdash was tremendous. Was 24 amos by 24 amos was the fire, was the area for the fire in the middle. Now, if you look carefully at this picture, you do see this line, this edge running around the whole top of the Mizbeach. That was the area where the Kohanim would walk. So there was the same 1 amma edge near the horns, but the point of the story is, the horns being in the corners, but the point of the story is the inside area of the Marach, where they put the fires, this is the Mishkan in the Beis HaMikdash. There were multiple fires, as you see. This is the Mishkan of Moshe Rabbeinu, which was much, much smaller, tremendously smaller. That was what Moshe Rabbeinu brought. Just two more pictures. This is a Kayin holding one of those gezer, not geezers, one of those gezers, one of those blocks of wood, one amma by one amma, and this is actually a beautiful picture. Those are the two Kayanim, that's the Mishnah we just brought, that before they brought the Tamar Shal Ben Arbayim, they would bring those two blocks of wood and they would insert it in to the fire. Now that we got some beautiful pictures, let's wrap up today's daf. Says the Gemara Levaina. Says the Gemara Levaina that the frankincense leibuchas mikaymis is to bring a kaimitz. Never can ask her, says of Yaskra. Never lalan ask her. Mal ask her, never lalan. Mole kaimitz. Just like over there when it says ask her, what is it referring to? Mole kaimitz, a full 3 fingers worth of ask her, never American mole kaimitz. Beautiful raya. That when someone donates a Levaina, he's going to bring a kaimitz. Says the Gemara 1 second. Ima ask her, lalan shnei kaimsin. But over there is referring to by the shulchan. Top of the shulchan had the two frankincense fingers of spoons, which are 2 kaimsin. So over the year, it should be the same thing. It's a 2-step limud. We learn from lechem apanim, which is learned from the minchas chayte. Malhalim kaimis chaser patzel. The halacha by the minchas chayte is if you're lacking a little bit, it's possible. It's possible. Which shows us that each kaimetz is a separate avodah, a separate entity. And therefore it's true by the shulchan there were 2, but by us, when you say when I bring one kaimetz, not 2. Says the Gemara, Amr Ad Yosi, Milsa de Rav Ila Amra, This statement of Rav Ila, he explained as follows: Hamisnadev Levina Mevia Kaimsai Shel Koyin Gadol. They have to bring it. Doesn't mean Koyin Gadol. Let's not get confused. It means Koyin Gadol, the largest Koyin of that day, because we all know that the Kaimitz. Well, we'll know right now. The Kaimitz were these 3 fingers worth. Now every person's hand is different size, 3 fingers. So when you're just bringing a Kaimitz, what size Kaimitz? Of a little guy or a big guy? So says Rav Yaisa has to be the largest Koyin who's working that day. Rav Ila b'shem Rav Lazar says no. Rav Chizkiah b'shem Rav Yirmiyah, but even the kaimitz bailim, even the kaimitz of the bailim. Now, basically, to make a long story short, very short, when we're saying the kaimitz bailim, the reason for that is because since we're learning it back, it's from the lechma panim, from the minchas chayte. The minchas chayte was any person can bring a mincha. So that, and when someone brings a mincha, the halach is he chooses which kain does the kamitza. So that means it's not necessarily going to be the largest one. So therefore, says the Gemara, it could be any size kaimitz. Wrapping it up, Zal Yivchais says the Gemara, gold you don't bring less than 1 dinar. Amar Avalazav Usha is kersura. That's only if you said I'm bringing gold with an image on it, then it goes by a dinar. Avalam Lais kersura. Maybe a filu tzinura. You bring a tzinura. Tzinura was a little fork made of gold, which was the smallest keli in the Beis Hamikdash. So we'll let you bring the smallest amount. Shishal and Adava. We'll just begin this. So we said in the Mishnah that there were 6 boxes for the Dava donations. Rav Amar Chizkiah Amar, can I get Shisha Bati Avos? The 6 Bati Avos, Bar Pati Amar Kneg Shish Be'emais. The 6 types of animals brought as karbanos. Par Egel Sayer, Ayel Gdiyin Tla, Shmuel Amar Kneg Shisha Karbanos. 6 types of karbanos ledava. Kine zav and kine zavais. That's 1. That's all the kinim birds. Kine yaldais, chatais, va'ashamais, hamincha, va'asir seifa. Those are the 6 types. Amar Rav Yechla Adesha Nedava Meruba Ribalai Shefer's Harbe. Because there are more nedavais, they mean more boxes. They don't want to get the boxes stuffed together. Because the boxes are stuffed together, the coins would start to decay. So they made more boxes. And then the pasuk says. And actually, we're going to stop over here. This is a new drasha, continuing the theme about Yoyada, about these boxes that he made of donations. We'll pick up from here tomorrow.